What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna get back to work on the 49 Chevy, and it's time to finally start taking the body off the chassis. And we got to get under there and break loose all those 75-year-old rusty body bolts. And I'm sure none of them are gonna come out. They're just gonna snap off. So, but it doesn't really matter, because once the body's off the chassis, I can get up under there and fix the mounts. And I'm pretty much planning on fabricating my own body mounts anyways. The original ones are really, some of them are rusty and they're just weak, really thin metal. The bolts that hold the body on are only 3/8 16 bolts, which are really small for a chassis to body mount. So I'm definitely going to do some fabricating on that end and beef that up to at least a 7/16 bolt, and probably definitely all new polyurethane bushings, so it'll ride smoother and just be safer. That's the whole thing with this, is I'm trying to rebuild it stronger and safer and just kind of modernize some of those areas where they were lacking back in 49, you know. So today we're just gonna get underneath there and try to break all those bolts loose, and then after that we can start pulling. I'll strap the body up and start pulling on the body to see if it comes loose. And I'm sure there'll probably be a few more things that I forgot to detach or cut, but pretty much all that stuff's getting replaced. So as we're pulling on it, if anything's left, I'll just cut it and remove it quickly. So let's get into it and start breaking those bolts loose. So there's 5 bolts along each frame rail side to hold these things on. There's 2 in the trunk lid back here, 1 on the very back, 1 right about in here on the chassis, and then there's 3 more along here on both sides. So we just got to crawl under there and break them loose, and then, like I said, we'll start lifting on this thing. So here's what's left of the body bolts. As you guys can see, it's just a big pile of broken, rusty mess that came out from underneath that car. And there was 5 bolts on each side of the car, washers and whatnot. They really weren't that hard to get to, but yeah, they're all so old they just broke right off, which I expected that to happen anyways, so not a big deal. So yeah, now the car is ready to lift off the chassis, which I'm probably not going to do that today, because today I pretty much just got the bolts out of it, and now I can kind of look and see what else is attached and what needs to come off, and then I got to strap it up to the hoist and lower that down and start pulling on it and see what happens. I'm guessing it'll just probably come loose pretty easy. There's really nothing holding on to it. And those little bolts that they put on these things from the factory were kind of funny anyways. There's little 3/8 bolts, 3/8 16. There was only 5 of them on each side, down the outside of the frame rail. So I mean, that just doesn't seem safe to me, but I guess that's how they did things back in 49. So yeah, the next thing we'll do is get those straps put on and just start cinching things up and tightening things up and see what moves. So we'll do that next. All right, you guys, we're back to work on the 49 again. It's been a few days since I took the body bolts out, but we finally got all the bolts out of the body. I did build a wooden frame to set the body on after I separate the chassis. And as you can see, like I said before, we got the hoist rigged up with the ratchet straps holding onto the body. And we're gonna go ahead and start lifting on this thing and pull it off the chassis and hopefully get that wooden frame under it securely. I've got some steel beams I'm gonna put across and end up welding those to the body so it can't slide off. But right now I've already pulled on it a little bit and it's coming. So we're gonna go ahead and raise it all the way up and see what happens. Well, I think that's just enough room to get my steel beams under it, I hope. All right, you guys, we finally got this thing off the chassis. It was kind of a, I don't know, a detailed thing to do. There was a lot of small little nuts and bolts and little things connected that I had to go around the car and detach and break some rusty bolts off. But we finally got it up in the air and off the chassis and onto my homemade wooden frame, which I didn't really go into detail on how I built that. It's pretty basic, common knowledge. Drill holes, bolt boards together. Just make sure that if you guys are trying to do the same thing, use nice thick boards like I did. I used 4x4s and 4x6s and steel beams. So now when I'm under this thing working, I don't have to worry about it falling and crushing me to death. And that's the biggest thing, is just make sure you're safe when you're doing this kind of thing. And I can't exaggerate that enough. You don't want to die doing the hobby that you love, or lose a limb or whatever. So let me get you guys turned around. I'll show you what I got going on. So yeah, there it is, up in the air. You guys can see how I strapped it to the hoist. Went up and around the runs and then back down to the rockers. So you can see where I grabbed onto the rocker with the hook. And these are just like basic car tie downs. I did that on the front. And I was able to actually grab the inside. Let me get you a light in here so you can see something. So you guys can see where I went around the wheel well and rear quarter supports with some axle straps, and then went up and around the hoist, and it worked perfectly. I didn't want to grab down here on this rocker because these, I've told you guys before, these rockers there's mud in there, and I don't trust it there. I think if I would have hooked on there, I would have just crushed that quarter panel because they're crispy. This whole car probably needs all new quarter panel patches put in, but I'm not going to do that until after I get the thing running and driving, going down the road. But yeah, you guys can see, here's my wooden frame that I built. You can see how robust the corners are. I mean, they're massive. This thing could probably hold up a dually or a 10,000 pound truck. And you can kind of see where I put the steel beams across. The frame, the wooden frame, is 7 feet wide by 10 feet long. That pretty much spans the whole vehicle, so I don't have to worry about it falling off or tilting backwards. I got the steel beams under the flat rockers, and then the rest is just kind of dangling over the rest of that wooden frame. And I'm just going to keep it strapped the whole time, just for added reassurance it's not going anywhere. And I made the wooden frame 2 feet off the ground so there's plenty of room to get up under there and work on the undercarriage. Cut the floorboards out where I need to. And now I can roll that chassis out easily. It's bagged out right now, but you can see how easy it rolls. So that thing will roll right out from under there now. And when I'm not working on it, it's nice to be able to roll the chassis out on the floor, work on it, and then roll it back under the car where it doesn't take up any more room in here, because you guys can see we're tight in here for space. There's no room anywhere. Just packed with sweet hot rods and muscle cars as far as you can see. So yeah, there it is. The 49's finally separated from the chassis, and I can get to work on cleaning up the rest of the rusty, scaly chassis under there, which it's got scale on it, but it's just as clean as those front frame rails were. So I definitely scored on this car. The chassis is in really good shape. I mean, that spot right there is like super clean, just bare metal from 49. And you can see it just has a lot of this like scaly undercoat on it, but everywhere on the frame is solid. So back here is where we're going to be doing a lot of surgery on it when the 3-link comes in. We'll be doing a lot of frame modifications to fit that in there, along with all the underneath floorboards are gonna get cut out. But yeah, excited to get it to this point. And now it just opened up a whole bunch of more work to do on this thing and can move it forward. This car really needed this done anyways, because it was super dirty and scaly under there. And for it to be a nice, solid, safe car, you got to get under there and clean all that out and make it all shiny and new again. So that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video. Let me get you guys turned around. Yep, so make sure if you guys are new to the channel, they subscribe to follow the 49 build and give me a thumbs up for the content if you're liking it. And I will see you guys on the next video where we'll be doing a whole bunch of chassis cleanup next. And I'll be ordering the 3-link for the back, so that'll be coming in soon. So you guys can see all the parts coming in for that. And yeah, see you guys on the next video. Later.